Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're reviewing a C8 Corvette Stingray, and this one is the convertible. Before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Land Rover here in Lehi, Utah for giving me some time with this Corvette. I'm going to include a link to their website in the description down below so you can check what they have currently. If you have any questions or need any help, just ask for Jordan. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Now we're actually going to start things off with the key fob for the Corvette. So you guys can see lock and unlock function or remote start. We've got the opening for the frunk, and then we got the opening for the trunk, and then that is for the convertible top, and then the Corvette logo. And I guess we'll start with the frunk. And popping into the frunk, you guys can see it's not quite as big as what you have in like a Porsche 911, but I mean, it's still a front storage space that adds to the practicality. I mean, it's got an escape button, so it's big enough, I guess, to fit a human being. And I always found this like cut part here on the front end pretty cool with the design. And before we move forward with the review, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood, you guys can see really sharp lines. It's kind of a distinct design detail with the front end of the Corvette, and you guys can see the headlights very similar to a McLaren, very similar. And then popping down below, I like how you've got some openness there with the grille. I think that just kind of adds to the cool factor of the car. Obviously it's also, you know, practical for the radiator and everything, but I don't know, still cool. And you do have some cameras on the front end, and putting it all together again has that sleek sports car appearance that a lot of mid-engine, you know, European slash I would say more Italian cars are known for. Now around the side here, our turning wheel setup is 245, 35, 19 in the front, and then 305, 30, 20 in the rear. And you can see with the wheels, we've got the silver there with the metallic gray, and I like the brake calipers there in like an acid yellow. They definitely pop. This has the Z51 package, so the performance package. And then the fenders here in the front pop out quite a bit. And you guys can see there with the mirror caps, very exotic looking. And then also on the side here as well. And then here is your full side view with the C8. Again, it has that sleek supercar appearance. Now this leads us to the trunk. So in the normal C8, or I should say in the coupe C8, the whole hatch pulls up, and that's how you access the trunk. But in the convertible, it's just the trunk section that opens up. And then you don't need to close this hard because it does have a soft close feature. So basically just push it down there, and then it'll do the rest of the stuff for you. So yeah, we can't see the engine, but 6.2 liter V8 with this 8-speed dual clutch automatic, 495 horsepower, 470 pound-feet of torque. Now the taillight design on the Corvette is so cool, and then look at the spoiler, kind of how that loops across, and then you got the squared off exhaust tips there at the bottom. And putting it all together, let me guys think about the overall design here with the C8 Corvette. Now taking a look at the front door panel, soft touch here, and then look at the stitching that goes through. I think that's really nice. Speaker for the sound system also looks cool. Memory seats, all of our window controls, and you even have the window to roll down in the center so you can hear the engine a little bit better. The mirrors do power fold in. You got blind spot monitoring with the mirrors as well, and I like the door popper right there too. And then really nice seats here, perforated all down the center portion. Got your power adjustments on the side, yellow seat belt, notice it says Stingray. And then pretty cool looking pedals there. And then there is some soft touch on the dash, but also a lot of it's hard touch. I think it's just plastic with stitching in it, to be honest. So here's a quick look at the steering wheel. You can see that it's got the squared off design, somewhat controversial. I don't really care, to be honest. Paddle shifters there on the back. We got stuff like our heated steering wheel button on the steering wheel. And the one thing I will say that's a little bit of a disappointment about the C8 Corvette is all the plastic finishes on the controls. I mean, there's some nice finishes like the Z mode button right there, but yeah. And then you guys can see the regular stocks there. Full digital gauge cluster here in the center, and we can scroll through the different drive modes there, and it'll do cool animation with some of the drive modes. I think that kind of adds to the flair of the car. And then it also does have a heads-up display as well. And then the Corvette does come with a 360 camera system, which, you know, if you don't know, a lot of supercars don't have anything like this, even though they are insanely expensive. It makes parking and all of that a whole lot easier. And then as for the rest of the infotainment system, response time is quick with the screen. It's easy to use, and it's faced towards the driver, so the passenger can't really use it, funny enough. Got our interesting gear selector button situation here with the manual mode there. And then notice with the stability control, front end lift, and then you've got that for the front camera. Drive mode select. And then we got this for the storage space. And then you have all of the climate controls and everything here for the driver and the passenger. We're going to turn that off. On the side, again, still face towards the driver though. And then you can see with the center console there, And then we do have a wireless phone charger here in the back. And then the glove box is hard to access for the driver, I suppose. But yeah, soft touch here on that portion of the dash. And then you guys can see here for the control there for the rear view camera mirror. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility of the hood, both the mirrors, and the rest of the rear, and let us set off in the Corvette. So quick note, I'm using this for my Corvette versus Camaro video that's driving, and then I'm also using it for my Corvette review. So basically the Corvette review will end, and then if you're watching the comparison, there'll be a little bit more video at the after, or at the end portion, if that makes sense, where I'll kind of sum things up with the comparison stuff. But anyways, mid-engine Corvette. This thing's cool. It's really cool. You know, I know a lot of people weren't so sure about the Corvette going mid-engine at first, but I think a lot of people now have kind of realized the benefits. But I will say the one downside is that this generation Corvette has no manual transmission, and I do think that's a big downside because manual transmissions have become, that is so loud. That's front end lift. I forgot how loud that is. Manual transmissions have become incredibly popular again, like incredibly popular. And so, yeah, I feel like that's something that Chevy is missing out on. Very smooth. I mean, you could very easily daily drive this with how comfortable the suspension is. Again, it's not a luxury car by any means, but yeah, I think that this could definitely be a daily driver. And road noise, you know, the car that I feel like is most similar to this in terms of road noise is the Jaguar F-Type. That's kind of what this reminds me of in terms of the road noise. And I'm sure there's some people that compare them because there is a little bit of a price crossover. The handle's so flat. Just in the normal mode here. Let's pop it into the. Let's go all in track mode. We ain't messing around here. Pop it into manual too while we're at it. So quick with the shifts. It's just like boom, boom. It's really cool. Yeah, compared to that ZL1 that I just drove, these are definitely quicker. The ZL1 shifts are really good for a torque converter automatic. These shifts are definitely quicker. Yeah, even in the track mode, the suspension's very compliant. It's kind of interesting, right? Wouldn't necessarily expect that. Look at that. It's so quick. But I will say it's interesting, you know, the feel. You definitely feel like you have an exotic kind of handling, but then a muscle car engine. It's almost like they don't match up too well in a way. I will say the clearance on this is a lot better than I expected. I didn't even have to use the front end lift there. Still a nice thing to have, obviously, but yeah, it's interesting. Okay, see how this accelerates. Interesting. It feels like the engine doesn't feel quite as punchy as the ZL1's engine, but in terms of like the rate of acceleration, it feels pretty dang similar. Which, if you look at the 0 to 60 times, that kind of makes quite a bit of sense. So quick, and it puts down the power way better than the ZL1, that's for sure. I think that's the biggest reason why the accelerations are so similar. And this would actually, I think this actually has a faster 0 to 60 time, is because this just puts down the power much better. and then the ZL1. So to cap things off here with the Corvette, for the Corvette review, I suppose, I think it looks great on the outside. It drives really well. The engine, I mean, it's such a weird engine for such an exotic looking and feeling car from a handling perspective and all that. So interesting. Anyways, see you guys if you're in the Corvette review.